If you're struggling to make a change in your life and you feel like you're just going around in circles or you're making up a bunch of excuses and just not starting, then this series is for you. If you want to know how to just start, go and see my previous video. We worked out where you currently are and the identity of where you want to be, and if it's something that you really want to get going with. Now we're going to start prioritizing sub-goals and sub-tasks within that broader identity, so there starts to become a clear path on where to move forward and where to go first. If you have a multitude of changes that you want to make to become that identity that you want to become, you need to rank them in order of either what's going to be the easiest for you but you need to do, or what's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, what's going to make the biggest change across everything. And just start with that. You only want to start with one thing at a time. You don't want to overwhelm yourself and go, I'm going to make all these changes, I'm going to work on my diet, I'm going to do my exercise routine, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. You're not going to do it. There's too much. It's too much for your brain. It will freak out and it will just go back to what you're doing. Okay? So you're choosing one task to make into a habit. You do that. It takes a long time to form a habit. Do that, and then you can start with the next one. Same process. As you get better at change, it will get easier and you can do multiple things at once, but you will know that you are at that level. Currently, we're not at that level, so we're just choosing one very specific thing at a time. What are we going to work on? If you are currently ranked at a 0 and you want to move towards a 10, which is optimal, we really need to break it down, and we want to break it down into making the time first, and then we can move into the thing that you want to change. So if you have a goal, say in this case we're using the goal of putting in a core routine of exercise into your daily life, you need to assess first how long that you need for the eventual outcome of that goal. And you need to think about really where it's plausible and if it's possible. Now you should know if it's something that you really want or just kind of want from the exercise that we did in the last video. And so if it's something that you really want, you're going to have to start prioritizing your time. So once you've worked out how long you will need, and in this time for how long you will need, depending on the level that you start at, you're going to have to include travel time, preparation time, etc., etc. How much time in your day are you realistically going to have to carve out to do this thing? And once you've done that, you need to look at your schedule and realistically, even if you don't want to do it right now, you have to realistically figure out where you could find that time. Could be early morning, could be late at night, could be instead of friends catch up, it could be instead of TV, could be instead of scrolling, could be anything. Okay? So all we're doing now is mapping out where the possibilities are that it could fit. Okay, so we're not making changes yet, so don't freak out. Once you have done that, I want you to again check in with yourself. Is this something that you really want? If you remember the exercise about the 2 paths before, is it something that you really want? If the answer is yes, then we keep pushing through. Now, depending where you are on that scale of 1 to 10 currently, we're going to start moving in the right direction. So if you're sort of like halfway there or something like that, and you are doing something but you want to do more, then you need to figure out, how to best apply this to yourself. If you had a magic wand and you could put this exercise routine into any part of your day, where would it be? And now I want you to just think of 2 other options, and I really want you to sort of play out the scenario of you having that routine at that time of day, and make sure that it seems plausible to you. And then you have to pick one. Once you pick the time of day that you're going to form this habit in, then you need to break down to the smallest manageable bit for you of where you're going to start. Okay? Do not go too big on this one. That's where most people fall down, they fall apart, because change is really hard for the brain. So if you make the change too big, freaks out, it says, no thank you, that is not safe. Please stop. I'm going to go back to what I was doing because I know that's safe, that's familiar. I'm going to go back there. Okay? Even though it's not what your mind desires and what you want for a better you, better life, your brain is going, you know what, like I'm alive back there, not really sure what's out here, this is a bit hard. So break it down to the smallest thing. If you want to start exercise and you're currently doing nothing, just making that time, going and setting up your yoga mat can be your start. Always at that time, always at that trigger. Find a trigger that you want. Maybe you look at the time, maybe it's after you've had lunch, maybe it's after you drop the kids off, something like that. Maybe it's as soon as you wake up. Rolling out your yoga mat, lying there for a couple of minutes. That could be the start. Now that sounds really silly, but once you start doing that over and over again, you're going to start feeling silly and you might as well do something. And so then you might want to start the start of your routine. And so say if you've got like a core routine that you want to do, you can break that down into each individual exercise and you can just do the first one. Even if the first one is really difficult, you can break that down even further, depending on how difficult this change is going to be for you. Okay, so you want to first add the smallest bit, and if you've just done 3 minutes, 2 minutes, if you've just done 1 minute, that is going to be 7 minutes by the end of the week, which is much better than 0 minutes. Okay, if you do 2 minutes, 14 minutes, it goes on. So you just want to start. And then over time, you can obviously increase that routine, and your brain has sort of broken the looping of making all those excuses and the procrastination, and then you can build on that. So the thing that we need to appreciate is that change takes time to form into a habit. So we need to be really consistent over time to allow our brain to not perceive change as a threat anymore, and it becomes part of our routine, and then it becomes something that's just a habit and not taking up too much energy anymore. Now, consistency over time needs willpower. Willpower is doing what you need to do regardless of how you feel. And this is why it's really important to do the exercise from earlier, to know if this is something that you truly want and is truly going to be of benefit for you, because it is going to require willpower to stick to. Now you can, at this point, if you want, get something or someone to make you accountable, but you need to be a little bit careful with this one. In my experience anyway, sometimes when you tell people what you're doing, because people will always judge you for what you've done in the past, and they can't necessarily see that maybe you're going to be different in the future. And so sometimes when you tell people things, even if they want to support you, they do things that, or say things that actually throw you off, and you're like, I can't do it anyway, I don't want to do it, and it makes it worse. And so you need to figure out where you are on the scale of change, and accountability is sort of good once you've tipped over the sort of halfway point. If you're like on a 6 out of 10 or something like that, it might be good to get a teacher or to get a buddy to go with, or get someone in your life to sort of keep you accountable to that goal. But I think when you're very first making a change for yourself, it does need to come from an intrinsic desire. Otherwise, you might just make yourself feel like shit and not actually do it, because you've struggled to be consistent, and then instead of just jumping back on the bandwagon, you feel all overwhelmed because of that you've told everyone, and then you just don't start again. Whereas if you just didn't tell anyone, they don't even know that you fell off, so you just jump back on and it's all good. So just assess accountability. You don't always need accountability to someone else. You need an intrinsic desire to want to change, and make the small steps yourself first before you go all in and making someone else make you accountable. If that, it's an interesting spot. The final tip that I can give you is delayed gratification or reward. Don't punish yourself for things. That's just silly. You always want to use some sort of reward for these sort of things. And so if there is something that you are procrastinating with, get in the routine of making yourself do at least something towards what you want before you do that thing. So if it's checking social media, if it's seeing your friends, anything that you do want, delay the gratification until after you've done at least part of your goal. So 5 minutes is a really good amount of time. Put your alarm on. I just have to do something that disrupts this looping in my brain for 5 minutes. So if you really can't be fucked that day, I do this for training. Like, there's sometimes I just do not want to go to training, and I don't want to do it. And so then my goal is I just have to get myself to training, and I'm going to do mobility, or I'm going to do stretching, or I'm going to do something simple, but I have to go to training. And then once I've gone to training, I usually do a little bit more, but there are some sessions that it's a pathetic attempt at training, but I so strongly did not want to go that was a win. That's a win that day. I took myself to training, I was there for a certain amount of time, and then I went home. And then you can have whatever reward you want it, to have a nap, to have some food, to have a snack, whatever. So you should have from this been able to make a start, assess where you are, assess where you want to be, assess if it's really something that you want, list and prioritize the steps that you need to take to make the change. Think about how you would prioritize your time and your day to fit this thing that you want. And hopefully you will know how to make a start if you haven't exercised in a while. I really hope this was useful. Let me know in the comments if you are struggling with a change, if this helped you, or if you would like more videos on more things, or you have questions. Just let me know, hit the subscribe button, and I'd be keen to address them.